So why do you want to buy a business in Canada? Well, the first reason are opportunities. In a recent survey by the Canadian Federation of Independent Businesses of about 2,500 small businesses, they identified that a lot of business owners are looking to exit the business within the next 1 to 5 years. And that exit is primarily driven by retirement. With that being said, a lot of those older individuals do not have family members who are looking to buy the business or take over the business from them. In fact, most of them are looking to sell to a third-party unrelated buyer like yourselves. And a big reason for this is that the younger generation don't really want to operate in these smaller businesses, and so that creates a really good opportunity for someone else to come into the market and operate these successful businesses. So, what should you look for in a business? Well, there are a few key characteristics that I like to look for when I'm helping our clients find businesses to buy. The first is having slow growth. Now, I think this might be counterintuitive because you think, hey, if it's growing really fast, it must be a really great business opportunity. Well, yes and no. The first is that when you see high growth, it's a bit more volatile to being able to change year over year. Think about like a technology company. That company might be growing really quickly, but new technology can come in very quickly and also take away a lot of that potential for the business. And so with high growth comes higher risk. It also creates more management work because you're growing, you have to add more employees, adding more management. You don't necessarily want to jump right into your first business and have to have the headache of being able to learn it inside and out, but also being able to figure out how to grow it at a really rapid scale. So I like to look for something a bit more of a stable growth in the market. Another aspect is what you will bring to the business and what the exiting owners bring to the business. Sometimes a business can look really, really good on paper, but when you dig into it, you find out that the owners really run everything. All the customers come to the business because of the owner, all of the suppliers sign with the business because of the owner. The owner is the linchpin of the entire business. And if they're replaced and you're not able to recreate that, then it's not going to be as enduringly profitable in the long run. So you really want to be able to consider what you're going to bring to the business and then what the owner leaving is kind of taking with them. Another consideration is, of course, competition. If there are a lot of competitors, it makes the business more volatile. Think about like a coffee shop. If I'm the only coffee shop in a town, then it's a good chance that I'm going to continue having steady profit in terms of the long term. However, if there are many, then a small dip in quality of service or maybe some sort of a delay or some poor customer satisfaction is really going to impact the business because they can easily go to another shop and get their coffee. Likewise, if it's really easy to start a business, so something to consider about is like the barriers to entry. So if it's really easy to start a new coffee shop just down the street, then the likelihood that another competitor is going to come into the market and take away some of your market share is higher. And so it becomes a bit more of a risky venture. So those are really 3 considerations that I like to put forward. With that being said, there are many more, but I want to keep this video relatively short. So if you want to learn more, leave a comment in the section below and we can turn this video into a more in-depth series to educate you on how to buy a business in Canada. So the final question is, what considerations should you have when buying a business? Of course, I've already talked about a few things to look out for in the business itself, but there's some things to keep an eye out for during the process. See, buying a business is not really like buying a car. There is an emotional aspect attached to it. A lot of these people who are retiring, this is the business that they built from the ground up. And so it means a lot more to them than just the transactional value. Back into the survey that I referenced at the beginning of the video, they highlighted the most important reason to sell to buyers is to make sure that employees are being taken care of. That is an important factor. It's not just the money, it's also about keeping that family and making sure that the livelihoods of those connected to the business are sustained. It also means that any sort of reoccurring customers that they have are able to continue to have that service. It's really a legacy thing. They want to make sure that they're leaving behind something of importance. And so that's something you need to go into with the consideration with negotiating with these sellers. It's not just a matter of how much money are you willing to put down, but you also need to sell yourself both as a professional and as someone who understands them and is able to understand their vision and take their business and at a minimum sustain it, but if not, be able to incrementally grow it. Again, as I mentioned before, it's not about coming in, adding AI, making the business explode, but rather taking that business and not fumbling around with what made it so good in the first place. So on the flip side, you need to consider the seller's commitment to actually sell the business. Unfortunately, there are some sellers out there who are just sort of kicking the tires to see what they could get out of their business. Likewise, they might use this opportunity to find opportunities to grow their business. They may ask you, hey, what would you do to make my business better? And once you tell them, they could just implement that themselves. So you really want to see a good opportunity or a very good motivation for them to be able to sell the business. Stuff like retirement or family or personal health issues. Again, these are not things that you would ever wish anyone to have, but they do make for good reasons to sell a business. Whereas just trying to take some time away and find oneself or, looking to try something different are not exactly what going to motivate people to buy a business or to sell their business at the end of the day. A lot of transactions actually fail either at the searching phase or at the very end of the phase. And part of that is that the buyers get frustrated at the beginning because searching can take a long time, and sellers get cold feet and decide that they actually don't want to sell at the end of the day. And so you want to be able to avoid putting in all of that work. And trust me, buying a business is not that easy. It requires a lot of work, as you may have picked up on this video. So you don't want to put in all that work just for it to fall through at the end because the seller was never really that committed to selling in the first place. Those are two key considerations to think about when actually going through the process. Of course, I'm always here to try to help you navigate that as best as possible. And if you think that buying a business would make sense for your immigration purposes and you're interested to learn more, then I invite you to book a consultation with our law firm. Link will be in the description below.